So I've come to a pretty incredible revelation that I know to be fact. A lot of us have had things happen to us over the course of the past decade have caused a lot of us to deteriorate and a lot of other of us to otherwise unalive. About 3 years ago, this thing happened to me. I developed something called non-autistic savant syndrome. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, non-autistic savant syndrome is like having autistic savant syndrome, where you have developmental delays and disabilities with some sort of an amazing ability that's controlled by your cognitive or motor functions. Now, I have the same thing, just without the autism. At first, I thought this to be a direct result of me having mental scarring from abuse and trauma that I went through at the hands of my family, friends, and associate for 15 plus years. But the juxtaposition of this seems to be too incredible to dispute. I've accessed the filing cabinet system in my mind, and I've come to the realization that although I've shown some marked deterioration in my body, my mind has experienced an exponential increase in acuity and productivity, meaning I've been able to access certain aspects of my mind that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to access. My ability to do advanced theorization, my ability to process information on an exponential level, increased acuity, speed, and durability, as well as advanced facial recognition, gesture recognition, and voice recognition, meaning I can spot minute detail changes in human interactions. I've also showed a vast understanding of psychology and human interaction on a level that I had never known before the interaction with this thing. I've noticed a marked improvement in my ability to process and theorize on a level that would be akin to a binary computer. I can quite literally see the designs of human interactions from afar. The ability to understand psychology to the zth degree. All egotisticality aside, I feel like this is a divine trait. Without actually recording it or writing it down, I've mapped out the designs of my own psychology and everyone else's psychology without really even thinking about it. It's like a really weird feeling. It's like most people that have to study for years, I feel like I can come to that conclusion within just a few moments when it has to do with psychology or human interaction. It's extremely hard for me to put into words, since words are basically a construct created by human beings in order to explain their theories. Personally, I believe this to be something that's a lot deeper than I even imagined. Whereas originally I thought this came from abuse, now I think that it came from other means. I've shown sleep to be not as much of a necessity anymore, as I can keep my brain comfortable for longer without having as much rest, meaning I sleep about 2 or 3 hours a night on average, while still having the ability to function during the day with my body allows. I feel as though if I had enough time and enough patience, I could map out the entire psychology of the human mind without even really thinking about it. For those of you that don't really understand, this is something that's unheard of. This is something that in our lifetime nobody would be able to really understand. The human brains don't currently have the acuity in order to come up with something in less than maybe about 20 years of complete study. A lot of the problem today is the egotistical need for people to feel complete, instead of the constant striving for truth and understanding. Instead, we have the entire world egotistically being driven by people's wants instead of their necessities. Politically speaking, the world is very immature, because people don't realize that politics is a fallible system, meaning that it shouldn't be a practice. Instead, we should be relying on our humanity instead of our technology in order to increase. Instead, if you were to imagine your life as if it was sterile, instead of falling prey to your fetishes, learning this lesson, not probably, but will, lead to the same increased acuity. Like right now, I have my cell phone plugged into the wall where I'm recording. The electromagnetic field around me is pulsing through my body, through my fingertips as I hold my phone. If you cease to see this as a problem, you can use the electricity in order to help power your body, the same way that you would if you went outside and put your feet on the ground, on the grass, letting resonance course through your body, increasing your connectivity to Earth, all the while keeping focus on your heart rate so it doesn't lose its beat, possibly frying any foreign bodies that are inside you, ultimately leading to complete control of your mental functions. In my case, I can know you for just a few moments until I understand your complete psychology, or maybe even not know you at all based off of what you look like. The way that you carry yourself, your gestures, show exactly what your psychology is. The way that you carry yourself, the inflection of your voice. This being, from my perspective, a covalent bond that could lead you to total remission. And again, the implications of this are completely astounding, even by my standards. A lot of you may not really understand this, or anything that I had to say, but just know that this is information that could be gathered possibly 1,000 years from now, as opposed to our current state where we're not ready for this information. I know that this information might actually be the missing link to understanding how to defeat ego. Ego is much deeper than I'd ever imagined. Ego is most definitely a mental illness caused by our interactions with everyone else on this planet, compounded by our current understanding or lack of acuity therein. Basically meaning that our brain's current path of development on its own isn't ready to transcend, unless we're shown the way by someone who understands, or by waiting until the natural course of development causes us to reach that point. But I would reckon that would take about 4 generations, with the aid of an outside force such as somebody with non-autistic savant syndrome that understands it. Not necessarily me, because I also have physical ailments that'll most likely shorten my life, meaning that humanity's attempts to understand their own human genome has quite literally sacrificed the one person that can understand this, meaning that because of the actions of a few powerful, self-important people, humanity has to take the long route now, because I literally do not have time in order to make a document that everyone can follow. Also because of the actions of humanity's depraved individuals, such as my family. This basically means that humanity has basically shot themselves in the foot. Or maybe not humanity in general, but just a few people that are unnamed. So that basically means that for now I'm going to have to keep the information that I've learned to myself because nobody's ready to understand it. So I'll be keeping everything to myself, which brings me back to my original point of